Hi everyone, welcome to my North Knit Corner. My name is Anne and I come to you from the south of Norway. Here I live with my husband and our 3 boys. Usually on this channel I talk about my knitting and today will be a different kind of episode. In one of my podcast episodes a few weeks ago, I asked you if you would like an episode where I talk about my journey towards knitting and why knitting has become such a big and important part of my life. And you gave me such a positive response. So today I've decided to sit down and try and talk a little bit about my knitting journey, and I hope that you will enjoy that. I am not prepared. This was just a sudden decision to sit down and talk to you. But I hope that I will be able to share a little bit about my way towards knitting, and let's see how it all works out. I have my knitting with me. I will try to knit. I'm not sure if I will be able to knit and talk to you at the same time. We'll see. I have my mamba dress and I will try to get a row or 2 in while I talk to you. I hope you have your knitting or your crochet, something to drink. I have the first coffee of the day, which is always very important. And let's knit and chat for a bit. So I was always very creative ever since I was a child. I always loved to sing and dance, do theater. I'd love to create things. Me and my friends, we loved to draw. We loved to make stories, and we made this kind of dough with salt and water and flour. I couldn't find out what that is called in English, but we call it trolldeig. And you can make figures out of it, and you put it in the oven and it dries, and you can paint on them. And we did that so much. We had so much fun with creating different kind of decorations and things with this dough. So me and my best friend, we always made handcrafted gifts for Christmas to people. So there was a lot of this figures out of this dough, and we made drawings and everything. So very creative as a child, and I've always had that creativity with me. As I grew up, I studied music and theater in high school, and also I went 1 year at the university studying theater. So always loved to be creative. My first meeting with the knitting was in elementary school. Everyone in Norway, when they go to elementary school, they have a few hours of knitting. Not many, but you learn to do the knit stitch. And I remember I think there was a scarf that I tried to knit, only in garter stitch, back and forth, with these long straight needles, thick ones, but it wasn't a big success. And we only had a few hours of it at school, and that was it. I didn't catch the knitting bug then. And then I think my next meeting with knitting was when I was about 20 years old. I lived in a collective together with 10 other people. And we called us the Creative Collective because all of us was either doing music or theater or dance. That was a very good year. But there was a couple of my friends there. They were knitting, and so they learned, or they taught me how to knit and helped me start to knit a hat and a scarf. And it was very thick needles and with very bulky yarn. So it was a very big and bulky hat and scarf. But I managed to finish them, which was quite impressive, I must say, because I don't think I really enjoyed it. But yeah, my friends was really pushing me to finish it. And actually, the hat and the scarf I have used a lot. I had, yeah, this must be over 20 years ago, and I've had that hat and that scarf since then. I recently got rid of it, but I actually used it a lot, which is a lot of fun. But now that I have started to knit so much, I've knitted some better hats and scarves, so I decided to get rid of it now. Yeah, but then I didn't knit anything else after that. I did try to crochet a bit as well. I crocheted a couple of hats and had some fun with that for a little while, but it didn't take. I didn't keep on doing it for a long time. And then I met my husband and we got married and we got kids. And I didn't do any sort of crafting, or I wasn't very creative in those years. I didn't do anything else than work and being with my kids. And then in 2009, I just a disclaimer before I keep on going. I am going to talk a little bit about sickness and health issues. So if you have trouble listening to that, I totally understand. You might be somewhere in your life where that can be tough to listen to, and I totally respect that. So I just want to let you know, so you can skip it or stop watching here. But I just want to be open about that. It's hard to talk and talk. I don't have a break with showing you guys some knitting. But I hope you think it's enjoyable to listen to. And that you're knitting on something fun today. Okay, in 2009, I was about to get back into work after being home with my now middle son, the one who is 15. He was then 11 months and was going to kindergarten, and I was going back to work. But I suddenly got a lot of pain in my chest and stomach on the one side, and I had to go to the emergency room. They took some tests and found out that I had pneumonia. They thought so, so I got some antibiotics and was sent home. But I didn't get any better. So then, after a few days, I went back to the emergency room. I got some strong painkillers and they sent me home again. But it didn't help, and I was in so much pain. I couldn't walk around. I was lying on my stomach all the time. That was all that I could do because it was so painful. And then I was going back to the emergency room, and they decided to take some x-rays. I was there the whole day for many hours, and they didn't tell me anything. But then late in the evening, they came and they told me I had cancer, lymphoma, and that it was really serious. I had Hodgkin's, and I was in stage 4B, which is basically 1 foot in the grave. I was really, really sick. And I hadn't noticed anything until, because I have been sick for a long time without feeling sick. So my body suddenly told me, okay, you are sick, and gave me all those pains. But if my body hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today. That's kind of scary to think about. But I'm so thankful to all the research that has been done with cancer treatments over the years. So I was so lucky to get a chemotherapy that really helped me. So I went on chemo for a long time. It was really tough, but yeah, I'm so thankful I got in remission. And at this time, I couldn't go back to work after all this chemotherapy and everything. I was not feeling great, and I, at that time, didn't have a job to go back to either. So it was almost 2 years with just staying home. At this time, I got very into Pinterest, and I was very fascinated by all those beautiful cakes that people decorated. I think it was a really big thing for a while. I know it still is, but for a while I felt I saw it everywhere, like these beautiful decorated cakes and amazing artwork with cake. So I decided to try that because I thought it looked a lot of fun, and so I started decorating cakes, and people wanted my cakes, so it was a lot of fun to do that for a while and get my creative outlet that way, because I hadn't been creative for a long time, and I just missed that so much. So so that was so much fun. Yeah, so I did that for a few years, and then I got back to work. I got a job in a company who made or who makes equipment for the oil industry. And it was the same company that my husband worked at the time. So yeah, that was really nice. I really loved my job. I worked there for 6 years. And at the same time, I did this cake decorating thing on the side, which was a lot of fun. I felt not 100% because I got fatigue after going on this chemotherapy. So my work was, how do you say that? My work was adjusted for me, so that I was able to take breaks when I needed to. I had a room I could go to and lie down. And yeah, my work was, or my employer was so kind to me and really respected that I needed some breaks and that some days I couldn't work. So I was so blessed to have the opportunity to work even though I wasn't 100% in my health. But then I got pregnant with my youngest son, and yeah, I just got the urge to want to make something for him. Like, I didn't know how to knit, but I knew how to crochet. So I was looking at Pinterest again, and I saw these beautiful owls that you could create, and you make this kind of chain that you can hang on your stroller. I'm not sure what you call that in English, but you can have it on your stroller and the kid can look at it. So I made these owls and had a lot of fun with that. And then I decided I wanted to crochet some baby clothes. So I did that. So the clothes he wore home from the hospital, I crocheted, and I thought that was a lot of fun. And then when he was born, I got rapidly poor in the health. I got so much more tired and really struggled at work. When I got back to work after my maternity leave, I really struggled. I got this like brain fogs, and I had trouble finding words. I was maybe able to work about 20 minutes. At that time I was sitting taking phone calls from customers and making cases that I had to send off to different departments in the company. And I maybe managed to work for about 20 minutes, and then my head was just not computing. It was, I was totally blank. So I started to work less. I was on sick leave most of the time, and then I lost my job because they were also laying people off at that time. I was lucky. I kept my job for a pretty long time. They had three rounds where they laid off people. So it was a big company that I worked in. It was about 5,000 employees, but I think they maybe went down to 1,000, 1,500 because they really struggled for a while. I think they're back on track now, but yeah, it was a tough time. So I lost my job. And for me, that was it was not great because it was, like I said, I had an employer who really looked after me, who made the best out of my situation and made it possible for me to at least work a little bit. But when I lost my job, I wasn't able to get a new job where I was able to get the same conditions. So it was a really tough time. I felt like not great in my health, and I also felt really bad because I lost my job. I didn't have energy to be as active with my family and my kids as I wanted to. So yeah, it wasn't great. But I had my crocheting. I was crocheting so much. And that was really helpful for me in this time to be able to at least use my hands and create something while sitting down and resting. So I crocheted so many Granny Squares blankets. I have a blanket here on my lap which I crocheted. A lot of pillowcases I made, and but it was mostly blankets and pillowcases, to be honest. One year all my friends and family got Christmas pillows for Christmas. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. And then my church, they run a coffee shop here in our town, and they asked if I could start a knit night at our coffee shop. And I I wasn't knitting, I was only crocheting, but I thought I can start it and I can sit there and crochet. So once a month I invited people to come on a knit night at the coffee shop, and that was very nice. But then one knit night, this is about almost 6 years ago now, in 2018, just before Easter, so about the same time as now. Yeah, 6 years ago. There was this local yarn shop that came and visited us on the knit night, and they had brought a lot of yarn and a lot of different projects that they had knit up to show us, like this is the spring collection in knitting. And I was like, wow, there's so many beautiful things. And I was sitting together with an older lady, which is a wonderful lady, and she told me, okay, Anne, now go and buy that. They showed a hat pattern and a hat, which was only in stockinette. And she told me, now you go and buy needles, and you buy the yarn, and you buy the pattern, and I will show you how to cast on and get started. And I was like, no, I can't knit. I will never be able to knit. And she was very strict with me. She said, yes, you can knit, you can crochet, you are very creative, you will be able to knit. And I was very skeptical, but I did buy the yarn and the needles and the pattern, and she helped me get started to knit this very easy stockinette hat. In yellow, of course, because it was Easter. And yeah, so she helped me get started. And I think I used just a couple of days on that hat. I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I actually made this hat. I was able to knit this hat. What else can I do? So I went back to the local yarn store, and I asked them, do you have a pattern for easy kids knit? Because I wanted to make my youngest son a sweater. And they showed me a Sannes pattern from this booklet, and it was just an easy raglan sweater with some, just a plain easy raglan sweater. And for me it didn't look easy at all, but they told me they would help me. I could come back at any time and get help. So they were so great. I bought the yarn and the pattern, everything, and then I got started, and I actually understood the pattern. I always thought that these patterns didn't make sense to me, that it was just a lot of gibberish, but actually when I read it, I understood it, and I was like, wow, this is fun. And then on the next knit night, we had a visit from another yarn store, which is also local. And she had a very nice, also a plain raglan sweater with that she showed. And I decided to get yarn for that. And I knitted myself a sweater. And I was like, wow, I actually understand this. And then from that day, I just knitted. I don't think I have had one single day the last 6 years where I haven't knit a stitch. I have just really, catched the knitting bug. So I'm so grateful to this lady at the knit night who really pushed me to go get this yarn and the pattern for this hat, and every time I meet her, I just have to thank her, because I have never been able to go back to work. Now I'm just home because my my situation with my health is still very... I can't plan anything. I never know if it will be really hard for me to get out of bed in the morning, or if I will feel like almost normal. So some days I feel like I have a normal amount of energy, but other days are really hard and I got a lot of pain in my body, and yeah. So I'm not able to work, which is a big sorrow, because working is a big deal. I mean, it's often what we... what word am I looking for now? It's something that identifies us. And the question, what do you work with, is often one of the first questions you ask after you ask the person's name. They ask you what you work with. It's a big deal, working. And it identifies you in many ways. It doesn't have to, of course, but it's just a part of the culture, at least here in Norway. And when I say that I am home, I often feel, or this might just be a feeling for me because I look down on myself because I can work, but I feel like they look at you different, like you're not as smart, or yeah, I don't know. So I really struggled with that. Yeah, but and I don't get to meet any colleagues. I don't meet people many days, or I only see my kids and my husband, which I love my kids and my husband, but I mean, you need some other people in your life. You need to see other people, get input from other people. That's important, I think. So I don't get that. So yeah, where was I going with all of this? But I'm so thankful that I got my knitting now, because at least I get to use my brain. Like when I knit, I have to, when you start a new project, you have to read the pattern. It can be difficult. You need to understand it. Sometimes I have to do some math because my gauge is often off. And I have to like calculate out and try to find the right size and everything. Yeah. So I really get to use my brain, and I produce something. I make my own clothes, and I made myself a sweater, and I'm making myself a dress. And even though I don't have energy to do anything, I at least have the energy to sit here and in my chair and knit. And I produce something, which feels very good. And it's not mindless. You know, it can be mindless, of course, like stockinette and in the round. But often it isn't, and I actually get to use my brain, and I feel like, yeah, I feel like then I always learn something, if you understand what I mean. I often learn new things, which I think is important to get to use the brain. And then now I have to get years right. I think it was in 2021. My husband told me that, you know what? There are actually people on Twitch who stream when they knit. And I was like, no one is looking at other people knitting. And he said, yes, I will show you. And he showed me on Twitch that there were people sitting there talking and knitting and showing knitting, and yeah. And these people were actually streaming. But then he told me, you know what? They are probably on YouTube as well. So I was just searching on YouTube for knitting, and so many knitting podcasts popped up, and I didn't know what that was. I was like, knitting podcast? But then I started to watch some Norwegian knitting podcasters, and you know what? It was so nice. It was like having friends over. Even though they were on my screen, I felt like I was like interacting with them somehow. I was sitting here knitting, they were sitting there talking about their knitting, and I got so inspired, and I really enjoyed that, because I didn't have, before that I was watching a lot of TV when my kids weren't home, but that didn't give me so much. But watching these knitting podcasters show their knitting and inspiring me, that was so wonderful. And then my husband told me, you know what, you should start your own knitting podcast. I mean, you're here at home, you have time for it. It doesn't take a lot of energy, which it usually don't take a lot of energy. But so I was like, me? Knitting podcast? And then I tried. I filmed a knitting podcast in Norwegian, 1 episode. I put it out into the world, and there were actually some people watching it. And it was like, wow. And I got the most beautiful comments back, and it gave me so much joy. And I have friends, but I didn't really see them much because I didn't have the energy to go and meet them. So I felt like I had some friends suddenly, some knitting friends that I could talk to. Even though I didn't see them face to face, I still felt a community with them. And then after a while, I decided to try and make a podcast in English. And here we are. And you know what? I love it so much. I have gotten friends all over the world, I feel, who love knitting as much as I do. And it's just so wonderful. The knitting community, for me at least, has been so important. I feel like I have colleagues, in the podcast world. I've been able to travel to meet, travel here in Norway and meet other podcasters. So I met them in real life, and actually getting to know them like for real, or even though I feel like I know people that I've seen on the screen, even though I haven't met them in real life, and many people I've talked to like on messages and even on Zoom, and so it's been wonderful. And I have a dream on going on a tour, meeting my knitting friends, you guys, all over the world, because I really feel a connection to you. And I know that may sound very weird, but I actually do feel like I have friends out there who enjoy knitting, and we can talk about knitting. And even though we might have so different lives and very different opinions, and we can be totally different, but we can connect around knitting. And I feel that's so wonderful, because we always have something to talk about, and we don't have to talk about what we work with, which I love. It doesn't matter if I'm a professor, or if I'm home, or if I'm, we have knitting to talk about. I hope that makes sense. So again, I'm so thankful that you all here and want to see me share about my knitting. For me, it's so much fun. And I feel like I don't have a job, but I I do something. I make this podcast both in English and Norwegian, and making content for people to watch, and some of you like it, and I really appreciate it. And if you are still here, I assume you think it's okay. So I'm so grateful for that, and I really enjoy it. So knitting and this podcast has become so important for me because it really makes me feel like I have a purpose. I know it sounds really stupid. I know I have a purpose outside of this. My purpose in life, the most important for me is my kids and my family, and of course, but we all need something outside of that to, like I said, work defines us. It's a part of us, and I think it's put down in us that we want to be useful, that we want to create something, that we want to feel important. So this has been that for me, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to do it, and that some of you want to be here. All right, I've been talking for quite a while now. I hope this was a little bit interesting. I know I might not have been able to say everything in the way I wanted, but I've tried my best. You know, I don't know where I was going with that. That's the part of the brain fog coming in. But how much have I knitted now? I've just been knitting and knitting. Maybe I've knitted more than I should, because I'm soon going to do like a cable round. So I have to find out if I've knitted too much now. But I actually got to knit a few rounds. I think I knitted 3 rounds. No, I'm on my 3rd round now, and then I'm going to do a cable round. And I won't be able to talk to you when I do that. So maybe it's a good time to say thank you so much for being here. If you are here all the way to the end of this episode, thank you so much. Again, you guys mean so much to me, and I appreciate all of you being here, taking the time out of your day to watch me talk. That is something that really warms my heart. And I hope you got a few stitches in while you listen to me talk. And I wish you still a good day, a great week, and lots of happy knitting. And I will be back with a new podcast episode next week. I'm going to a knitting festival this weekend, so then I will tell you all about it. Until then, take care and happy knitting, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.